Hi, and welcome back to the DPAF vlog format. I've decided to join the masses of vloggers to continue with lockdown coverage. And as a lot of people know, I left Great Britain last November, around about the time of lockdown 2, because I could see the writing on the wall, and decided to move out here to Florida. And I wanted to talk in this video about no lockdown Florida, about what it's like to live somewhere where there's no lockdown, where there's no face masks, where there's no restrictions on movement, where there's no vaccine passports, where there's an explicit ban on the creation of vaccine passports, all totally different to Great Britain, yet it's in response to the same health quote-unquote emergency. And a lot of interesting things to reflect on. I mean, it's 6 months or so since I've been in Florida now. It's extremely, it's getting extremely hot. When I was here in the winter, it was fabulous. Bright sunshine, cool breeze, great times. Whereas now, kind of getting into May, June, it is very humid, and you need to take the proper precaution. I got my baseball cap on, my sunglasses I just took off to do this video, but a lot of this stuff, sunscreen, convertible car, you really need to get through. But it's a fabulous place for anyone that hasn't been. And I just want to talk a little bit about the culture, really, because in response to no lockdown, it's totally different to Great Britain. And a lot of things are normal, or the old normal. I mean, when you go out and meet people, you can go out to the bars, go out to restaurants, you can go to the beach, where I'm kind of walking towards right now, and loads of people in a good mood, no face masks. People aren't even talking about any kind of health emergency. They're talking about their job, they're talking about what they're doing at the weekend, they're talking about their friends and family, talking about fun things they've been doing in the recent past or over Easter or what have you. No one's talking about cowering under their mattress or under their bed, staying in their bedroom, not socializing with their family, not hugging anyone. And it's very interesting how a place like Florida, which a lot of the political elites in Britain look at as being, sort of the home of Disney, and that's about it, how these people here are so tough. They can cope with a virus, without breaking stride. But in Britain, you have to be locked down, not just once, not just twice, 3 times minimum, or 3 times so far. And that's the way you have to respond to the virus. When I was young, we learned about the Second World War, how you had to sacrifice life to protect freedom. And yet, why was that so important to do then? And yet it's the opposite now. We sacrifice freedom to protect life. What changed? What did we do the wrong thing in the Second World War? Should we not have fought that? Or should we not have done lockdown in 2020/2021? Now I want to move on to talk a little bit about the economy. I mean, I am not I'm not in any way a proponent of runaway debt, and that is what Britain is pursuing. That's actually what America is pursuing now as well. I mean, America leads the world in runaway debt. Britain very closely following behind them, and this is going to lead to a gigantic economic catastrophe in my view. I think a lot of the lockdown is a preparation for the collapse of the US dollar, the collapse of the pound, and it's to condition people to accept less, to get used to less, to get used to much tighter restrictions on freedom, not so much in relation to a health emergency, but a financial emergency where people can't afford to do anything, they can't afford to go anywhere. And so part of doing this video, really, I suppose it's not so much to encourage people to move to Florida necessarily, although it's a great place, because I think America and Britain right now are facing the same economic problems. Other parts of America have adopted really strict lockdowns like Britain has, places like New York City or California. And because each of the 50 states has its own state government, they can make their own decisions. I think Florida's totally led America on how to cope with a relatively minor health crisis and not destroy its economy, not destroy its financial base. But obviously with the reliance on the US dollar here in Florida, they will encounter further problems. But I mean, I did a trip last year, or 2 trips to Belarus. I did a couple of videos from there talking about how, why is it a country like Belarus doesn't have to lock down but Britain does? And I suppose this is a similar kind of video. Why does Florida not have to lock down but Britain does? I mean, there was an article I read, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, how Michael Gove, the esteemed Michael Gove, who is honest about nothing, was going off to Israel to study the vaccine passport scheme, something the British government had said was anti-British, but they're going to do it anyway. And yet no one in the British government comes to Florida to see what it's like, not only with no vaccine passports, but with no lockdown. And it's all a case of more government tyranny all the time. The government want to have more tighter control of the British people, total elimination of British civil liberties. And I've been saying this since day one. I've been saying this since before lockdown was called lockdown. And it's amazing how few, really, British people have stepped up to demand their rights are respected, demand civil liberties are respected. Maybe it's because we don't educate people properly on civil liberties, we don't educate people properly on the role of government, we don't educate people properly on economics, so that we don't recognise tyranny when it's in our midst. I mean, I went to school, I was doing GCSEs and A-levels sort of in the late 1990s, and we used to spend a lot of time learning history and had very good history teachers. And we learned a lot about the First World War, Second World War, the Great Depression, the Weimar hyperinflation, Germany and Russia. And the two kind of questions I suppose we were grappling with, firstly was what caused the wars? Why did the wars occur? What was the steps taken, or what were the political tensions that caused the two world wars? And also, why did the people of Germany, especially East Germany and Russia, not resist the growing tyranny from Hitler and from Lenin and then Joseph Stalin? I mean, it was really incredible how there was this creep of tyranny. People like Joseph Goebbels and propaganda programs, and then obviously Hitler had the Mein Kampf book, and we were always taught, as a sort of an explanation was this about how it was sort of tyrannical creep, and there was the Crystal Night, and there was the Reichstag fire, and the Jews didn't see it coming because it was all kind of gradual, and there was the race divisions, with the Jews in Germany, and people didn't really see it coming until it was too late. And but of course the caveat to all this was that here in Britain, or where you are in Britain, we didn't do this kind of thing. We respected civil liberties, we had a system of equal justice, we respected everyone's right to be treated equally, and we had a democratic system, so this kind of stuff could never happen in Britain. And yet here we are 25 years later, and all this same stuff is happening in Britain. We have runaway debt, we have a run on the currency, we're going to have massive inflation and hyperinflation, we're going to have a collapse of assets, asset prices, stock market, housing market, commercial real estate, and it's going to lead to a lot of unhappiness. And the government will come in as being the solution to that unhappiness, but will never present themselves as the cause of the unhappiness, the cause of the lockdown, the cause of the runaway debt that we had before lockdown even started. So a lot of outrageous things have been going on, and of course I suppose subliminally I recognise the patterns, the tyrannical patterns and I do not like the direction of travel. I'm a big believer in people's right to freedom, people's right to their own money, not manipulated money, but sound money, people's right to vote for who they want to vote for. And obviously the news media is the propaganda news nowadays. It's totally outrageous what's been going on in the news media in Great Britain. And also there's the rise of all these, stop here for a break, so hot. The rise of the unelected. I mean, we have the IMF unelected making financial decisions for Great Britain. We have the World Bank unelected making decisions for Great Britain. We have the World Health Organization totally unelected making decisions for Great Britain. We have the US Federal Reserve. We have the EU. We have unelected bodies making decisions for Great Britain. Why don't we have elected people? Why do our elected officials have to constantly sub out decision making to these sort of unelected, quote unquote authorities that we don't have anything to do with as a country? We don't want anything to do with as a country. We just want our own elected officials to make decisions for us independently. We want to elect independent thinkers, but instead we have a permanent political class which subs out all the decision making, which passes the buck constantly, and they're a bunch of total and complete losers. So I wanted to do this video to I suppose really prove that I'm here in Florida, got a bit of water in the background there, and I need to drink some water for myself here in a minute. But what I'm looking to do is to look for parts of the world that are no lockdown parts of the world where I can encourage British people to move to invest in, and to use as case studies for our own country. I mean, why do we have to have a country that invented Magna Carta, that invented the English Bill of Rights, and yet we can't exercise those freedoms in Great Britain today? Maybe other countries in the world out there. I mentioned Belarus, I mentioned Florida, here I am. And there are places out there that respect British civil liberties, that respect freedom. And why should we live in tyranny in Great Britain when we can live in freedom elsewhere? We can live a British life, may not be inside Great Britain, but it's still a British life, it's still with each other, and we can live it in different parts of the world. So I want to start bringing more information and more content. I'm looking at another move to another no lockdown location or a free society. I don't want to make an announcement on it right now, but I definitely want to talk more about living a British life, whether or not it is in Great Britain. So I hope you like this video, different format for me, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.